we doing it here, Austin?
That's
Just
a
walked by,
polo
was
shirt and cargo pants
Backwards hat?
and backwards hat.
backwards hat.
There you
This
go.
is not a polo. It doesn't have a polo emblem. Only
it have a
polos are
collar?
polos.
Oh,
Does it have
my
a collar?
God.
Does it have a collar?
Does
Yeah,
it
but it's not a polo.
Okay.
You guys didn't live the polo existence. I did. You guys are too young for that.
What is
I'm
the
wearing a
polo
polo is
existence?
still
I have
around,
a
dude.
collar.
Yeah, but
This is called
polo is a polo shirt and only a polo shirt.
invented
Hey,
the
everybody!
polo shirt.
Everybody, stop for just a second. Hey, Seth, what are you wearing?
A shirt.
A collared shirt. It's not
what
a polo.
kind of shirt, Seth?
It's not a
golf
polo
shirt.
It's not a polo shirt.
You're supposed to have my back on that one.
Yeah, it is a polo shirt.
No,
It's a
polo
polo.
shirt.
Yeah,
Go
but
to
no.
belt.com.
I think what you're trying to establish is that everybody just calls collared shirts polos.
Yes. Welcome to the Friday Game Night Pickup Show here on AccessWDUN.com. Bo Wilson alongside Jeff Hart, Caleb Hutchins, Walker Tur, McQuarrie, somewhere out in the World Wide Web land, and our producer, as always, Seth Chapman.
Seth, can we just put Walker's name when we cut to him instead of people hearing having to try to have Bo tell
Walker
people
Tur?
what his name is?
I'm
Walker
pretty
because
sure
that's failing.
if you go back and
So-
watch the
Wait,
show, I don't
uh,
know if you've caught it, but if you
I
go
have.
back, you've caught it.
Yeah.
I sometimes when it's like his lock, I'll change it to Walter.
Oh, I haven't caught that
I've
actually.
caught that every week you've done it.
Yeah.
Well
Yeah,
done.
I'll just
see,
change it to
great
Walter.
joke.
Well, see, a lot of times when I go back
Nice
and
Easter egg.
a lot of times
Thank
I go
you.
back and check out the show, I go back and listen to it,
Oh,
which is
okay.
another good option. You can just cut it on YouTube, and then if you've got it on Bluetooth, you can just listen to it going down the road.
So what you're saying is you put all of my hard video work to, meaninglessness.
yeah,
It's useless.
I watch it every week
I watch it every week.
I watch it too.
because I don't get to see you guys when we're recording this because of the whole Zoom thing. So I like to watch the shenanigans that are happening in the studio.
Well,
Yeah.
we can see you, Walker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know you can.
Yeah.
You're lucky.
And
Oh, we're lucky we can see you.
Yeah, because I can't see you guys, so I don't know what.
That's
you
a
guys
good
are
thing
doing
for you,
until
trust me.
Friday.
You don't want to look at this group.
all right,
That I'll
guys.
agree with.
All right, guys. Week 8. Week 8 was a fun week.
Oh,
What do
yeah.
you say?
Oh yeah, there was-
definitely.
yeah, sure.
That's my interesting soundbite.
That
New segment.
oh yeah, there was-
Definitely.
that is my interesting side of the week. That last week was a fun week.
Look, you had Lumpkin coming back against Gilbert. Mason Sullins with 207 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns, including the last 2 and the game-winning one as part of those last 2.
Free plug for our Gaining the Edge right there.
Yeah, free plug for Game of the Age. Check that out. That's up on the site right now. You had East Forsyth beating Cherokee Bluff in a key region
Yeah,
game.
that was a solid defensive effort for both teams. That was my kind of old school kind of game right there.
Commerce, another walk-off field goal, right? In
How about
overtime.
Ivy Tolbert?
Yes. Just
I mean, she's is there a better clutch kicker
Well,
right
and-
now in the area?
Well, and how about Jakari Huff coming up with that
Mm-hmm.
interception on Social Circle's first drive of overtime too? I keep telling that game played out almost exactly like I said during last week's Pick'em show, which is if this game got tight late, Commerce, they had that experience in these kind of games, and that's going to be a problem for Rabin, Elbert. If you want to beat Commerce, you better put them down and not let them up, because if that game gets tight in the fourth quarter, Commerce has seen just about everything you can possibly see as far as late game situations go, because they've been in a close game literally every game this season.
I got one like White County. I know they did not win, but based on how things have been going for them, that kind of seemed like a blowout waiting to happen. It was 22-17, and they had a chance to win that game. Are they back? If they're back healthy in 7-3A, is it too late for them to make a run? I don't think so.
No, not at all. I think White County is definitely still in the mix.
definitely still in the mix there. And you look at Rabin County and St. Francis, 17-14. Rabin was trailing at one point most of that game, I
Trailed
think.
most of the game, yeah.
Comes back to win it over St. Francis.
St. Francis.
What happened?
I don't know. They must be. I mean, some have said that's the best team they've ever had. I would think so based on that performance. But Rabin's played what we think would be some tougher opponents, and won the game and didn't have to struggle as much. So that was interesting. But again, they're like Commerce. There's two teams. They're showing they can win those close games and win them late. That's going to be a rock'em sock'em game when they meet later in the season.
I think so too. I've thought that pretty much all year, and the more time goes on, the more it looks that way. That Commerce, Rabun, and we'll see what Elbert. If Elbert knocks off Rabun this week, then that kind of renders all of that a moot point because then you've got to call Elbert County the favorite in the region going forward. But if Rabun goes into the Granite Bowl this week and beats Elbert County,
well, they've done it before. They've done it before.
Then they have. But if they beat Elbert County in the Granite Bowl, then I think all of a sudden Rabun Commerce kind of becomes the game that everybody will have their eyes on.
Actually, I just came up with the interesting stat of the week.
Well, it's not time for it.
Well, it is now.
No, it's not.
It's
time
not
for it.
time for it.
No.
Roll the clip.
All right, roll the tape. Roll the tape.
Here's some things you need to know.
It's Jeff Hart's interesting stat of the show.
So, talking about the Rabun-Elbert game, Rabun has never lost to Elbert. I think they've won 3 times in the Granite Bowl. How many programs in the history of the state have been undefeated at the Granite Bowl? So that's really interesting to me right there. And there it is.
Nice. All right. So
That's
we're,
well
all
done. That's
right.
well done.
I expected
I'll give you
more
credit there.
fireworks from you guys on that.
I'll give you credit.
I think that's a fire hazard.
Yeah, no cut this week, so that's good.
It was clean.
I
we
did
can
get
do
that
it
one
now,
right. I did
for
get that
sure.
one right. I have butchered like 2 or 3 of them.
That was good.
That's why I was like, oh boy, this is really going to be an interesting segment. How many? What's y'all's over under on how many I get right the rest of the year?
Well, how many weeks do we have left?
We
We
got-
got 3 plus. Let's say we probably do 3 or 4 weeks of playoff
we got
shows.
probably
so
6 left.
I would set the over under at 2.5.
2.5. Ooh, 2.5. So if I get 3 right, you lose.
What
Right.
about the over/under? How many times Jeff walks into this studio and says, "I have no stat of the week"?
5.5. 5.5.
Over.
100% of the time.
Okay, all right. So
I have things. I just don't know what pertains to interesting until we get in the conversation. And so while we were on that, they're undefeated at the Granite Bowl. And I bet if I went through, there probably but 1 or 2 teams ever that have played 3 or 4 times there that have been undefeated at the Granite Bowl.
So this is a long stat of the day segment.
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right, let's move on to region standings, guys.
Okay, region team.
There are going to be some region races here that are pretty cool. 7-3A to be one of them. This one could end up being just a major cluster.
There's a real chance that the region champion of Region 7 3A has 2 region losses.
Oh, I
I
think
think
that's
there's a real possibility that
distinct possibility. I mean, right now, Dawson's undefeated, which means that means they've got 2 coming up. But
it's-
where are they? That's the thing.
happens. It's set up perfectly because Dawson's unbeaten in region play.
Mm-hmm.
But what 3 teams has Dawson not played in the region yet?
Well, they haven't
it's the 3 teams
other
that are
3
up there
big
with
ones.
the other 3 big ones. It's Lumpkin, Gilmer, and Wesleyan. Not in that order. In fact, I almost got that order completely reversed, but you get the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Lumpkin still got to play Dawson. Wesleyan still has to go play Dawson. So it kind of sets up Dawson County's schedule is kind of what you've got to watch the rest of the way for what decides this region. I think every game that will decide the region champion from here on out probably involves Dawson County.
Either that or White County, because White County, they're 0-2. But let's say they go in and they beat West Hall on the road this week. Then they would be 1-2 if Dawson gets knocked off. Then you're
and they
looking at
still
everybody. It's 3-1. White's 1-2. You're only talking a game and a half difference, and they still have. I mean, they still have some teams in front of them that could make a difference.
It's tough for White County, though, because they've lost already the tiebreakers to both Gilmer and to Dawson. And if
No, I
they're
understand
going to
that,
win the region title, they're probably
And
going to
Wesleyan.
need a tiebreaker.
Well, I understand
So-
that, but what I'm saying is they're not out of this, and I think anything.
Oh, wait, has White played
Wesley
Gilmer?
and Dawson.
Wesleyan and
Wesleyan,
Dawson. They
yeah,
haven't
Wesleyan,
played Gilmer yet,
that's
but
right.
Wesleyan and Dawson, right?
That's
there
right.
you go.
Well, and
Walker-
you got Wesley and Dawson playing this week.
Walker, Walker, your thoughts on this region?
Yeah, I think that if Wesleyan knocks off Dawson this week, it's going to be tough to not have them as the region champions because you think they only have, the loss to Gilmer. Well, Dawson's going to play Gilmer and the rest of the schedule is going to play out. So Wesleyan kind of has the inside track to getting there now that they've knocked off White County and Lumpkin County. If they can knock off Dawson, Gilmer's still got to play Dawson later in the year. Gilmer's got to play White later in the year.
And Dawson
Gilmer
and
already
Lumpkin
lost
have to play.
Lumpkin. I think that Wesleyan, you look at what they've got left, it's Pickens and West Hall after this week against Dawson.
Yeah, it's the
no,
one.
no disrespect to either of those programs because I think anybody can win on any given night, but you have to think the Wolves are the inside favorite if they can knock off Dawson at home this week.
The
I
one
agree
fly
with that.
in the ointment for Wesleyan is they have to then depend on a Gilmer loss down the stretch. And you're right, Gilmer still has to play Dawson. But remember, Gilmer's got that tiebreaker. So let's say Lumpkin and Dawson were to end up with 2 losses. Well, then you're kind of out if you're Wesleyan at that point, because then you're in a tiebreaker with Gilmer, and Gilmer beat them. So
I think what you just did was make the whole point of this is the most interesting region race out there.
yeah, for sure.
And
But can I make that my interesting stat of the week?
No, we
already did it.
We already did.
That's
Okay.
it.
Already
No,
done.
I get to come in with the stat now.
You see,
I mean, Dawson just has like a 45% chance by the Maxwell ratings to win the region,
Yeah.
which is the lowest amongst any region across all classifications.
that
in
is
the state
true.
of
That's
Georgia.
that's crazy on the
Unreal.
surface until you realize go back to what I said earlier. They've got to play all
Who they have
three.
left.
They've got to play
Yeah.
all 3 of the toughest teams in the region in a row.
That's correct. That's correct.
That's going to be tricky. I think Dawson can do it. I think Dawson. If you had to ask me to pick probably who's the favorite in the clubhouse right now, I'd probably say Dawson. But they got to play
No,
the 3
I-
toughest teams in the region back to back, and that's tough.
look, is it not right for me to say that I am kind of rooting for Dawson and Lumpkin to end up
Oh, I am
meeting
too.
Yes.
at the end? I
No,
want to
that's
see
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I want to see that gigantic. I want to see 10,000 people at that game because
I would
I
love-
think it could happen.
I think that's a high possibility.
And let
of that
me
were to be
say
the
this.
case.
Let me say this too. Region where you end up in this region is very important. I don't know if anybody's looked ahead at the playoff standings.
Oh, boy.
yeah, they got 8-3.
It is tough because they draw Region 8-3A in the first round. For
And-
those keeping track at home, that region is, and follow along with me here, Stevens County, Oconee County,
We know.
Hart
County,
and Hebron.
Hebron Christian, and Monroe area.
Yes.
Have fun with that.
Yeah, the
Which-
number 4 seed it's going to be really good.
I don't know if it's going to matter, but we'll
Yeah.
wait till we get there. Speaking of Dawson County, let's get into the conversation. Dawson County at Wesleyan. We just talked a little bit about this game. The first time since 2007 the 2 teams have played. As a matter of fact, a stat for Jeff here, only 2 of the Region 7 3A teams have ever played Wesleyan, and that's Lumpkin, and that is Dawson County back when they were in the same region in the mid-2000s in that old Region 8-2A. So
Right.
they traveled to Wesleyan. Wesleyan on paper, we've seen what they've done in the to the region opponents that they've played so far. But on paper, they are a very pass heavy team. They have one key receiver, 6'4", Jamie Trimble, 6'4", 185. He's their leading receiver, 560 yards, and about 7 touchdowns for him. So you look at the rushing stats, you can see the disproportion there between the two. We're going to see a heavy pass attack
We
from
are.
Wesleyan this
Look,
week.
we are, but I think that the key matchup in this is going to be the Dawson County secondary. You look at Matt Bennett, Christian Webb, Kenny Nelson. They all have 2 interceptions, and they got 2 other guys. They picked off 9 passes this year, so that's the battle right there. If the Dawson County secondary is able to dictate the action with the Wesleyan, and that might be something, but maybe. The turnovers for Lumpkin, I think, really kind of dictated what they were able to do. They got behind. I think that I think Lumpkin, if they don't turn the ball over, I think they probably go ahead and beat Wesleyan. I think that that's the key matchup. That's secondary, which is pretty good. We talked about their defense.
I think you're right on the key matchup, but I also think you're missing one thing. Kane
Okay.
Adams and Will Cutts. Those 2 are leading the teams in tackles for a loss and sacks this year. If you look at what the defense for Dawson has done, Kane Adams has 11 tackles for loss and 5 sacks. And as you said, with the interceptions, they have 50-plus tackles for loss, 20-plus sacks, 9 interceptions, and 6 fumble recoveries. So I think one of the biggest keys, other than the secondary,
Getting
is going to
pressure.
get the pressure
Right.
on the quarterback.
Well, that could be contributing to why they have 9 interceptions. If you're running for your life and just trying to get rid of the ball, you're going to make some bad decisions. But you also have to be in position if you're the secondary. I think this has the potential to be one of the better games of the night, but it's on the road for Dawson. So that do they translate as well on the road as they do at home?
Well, to me, I think what you said earlier, turnovers are going to be the key in this one. If Dawson County can avoid turnovers, I think the Tigers win, and I'm not too concerned about it, to be honest with you. I think Dawson County's probably the better football team, just straight up. I expect Wesleyan to come in and play them very tight, but I think Dawson County wins this one at home. And if they have if they have fewer than 2 turnovers, I think they win by 2 touchdowns or more.
Yeah,
So have you already started the picks in? Is that
Yeah,
a
he
pick?
did.
I'm taking Dawson.
I'll follow with him and go with Dawson. However, the key is going to be the run game for Dawson. Can they get that going? And can Davis Glass, if need be, hit that key pass or 2 or 3 or 4 that they might need down the road? But I think Dawson does win this game.
See, I'm going to go with a little bit of a different key matchup, just having watched Wesleyan in person. I think the big key for Dawson County is, can they slow down the front 7 of Wesleyan defensively? That's the whole reason why Cooper Scott had 3 interceptions in the game against Lumpkin County, is because he was under pressure all night long. And we know how balanced Lumpkin has been offensively all year, running the ball to set up the pass. They tried to do that. Wesleyan stopped the run and then just started sending people at Cooper, and he had no time to get set. Is Davis Glass going to be able to handle that pressure if that comes, and can Dawson County slow down that pressure? I think this is a very close game. I don't care how many turnovers Dawson has or doesn't have. I think Tigers win very, very close.
I would agree with that. I'm going to take Dawson, and because I think it's because of the defense. They've been known for, just putting up points in bunches over the years, but this year, this defense looks like it's kind of carrying them, and they're really playing very well right now. And I think that, I think it's going to be a close game, but I'm going to go with Dawson because I like the defense.
I'm going to agree.
Before Seth makes his pick, can we just give him a shout out of taking the lead this
Oh, that's
week?
right. We
Yeah.
forgot
Yeah.
to do that. Seth did take the lead this week. Congrats, Seth. You actually didn't go on the coattails of Walker, and it paid off for you.
Well, here's
Well,
the
thank
thing.
you.
But see, I have more
Which
respect.
game
Well,
was it?
Walker's
see-
coattails were on fire because his pick, he had his worst week of the season
Well,
last
yeah,
week.
but you know what? See, I have no respect for that Seth's leading. I do have respect for the fact that Walker, me and you are the only ones that have gone out on a limb on any particular week.
How'd that work out for you?
It doesn't matter how
that
it
was
works
the
out.
question
It
I
I'll
was
doesn't-
tell you
ask.
what. I'll tell you what. I just got tired of carrying the load for 7 weeks. It's time for somebody else to set the pace a little bit and let me coast. That way I can take over on
you
week
set
14.
that up. You set that up. Good job, Jeff.
Well, now I have no respect
Now
for you,
to the
Walker.
leader.
Sorry. I tried to give you some props, but no.
I'm
What you
going
got?
with Dawson on this one, too,
Okay, so
with no elaboration whatsoever.
Dawson all the way around.
But Seth, let me ask you this, Seth. How long have we been recording so far? How long are we into this show right now?
20 minutes.
There is something we have noticeably not talked about yet.
And,
Why don't we go ahead and get to it, Bo?
well, I was saving that one for last.
Oh, you're saving it for
I was
last?
saving it for last.
Okay,
Yeah.
look at you.
Let's move to the top 6 matchup up at the
Why does the producer not
Granite
know
Bowl.
what this is?
Raven
I don't know.
County at Elbert County this week. Number 3 versus number 6. This one a very interesting game. I will not start this one, so I'm going to lay this out to the panel of my esteemed colleagues to begin this one.
Well, I think we've already talked about this a little bit. This is the game that will set up Region 8-1A Division 1. This will tell you what the region title race is going to look like, because I don't see Athens Christian winning this region. So I think whoever wins this game, it's basically going to be, can that team beat Commerce? And if so, there's your region champ right there. It's a 4-team region. It's going to be super simple. I like Raven County because they're battle-tested, because they've proven they can win with defense on multiple occasions. And tell you what, also, it's been a few weeks since we've seen Keegan Stover and that offense really get loose. Might be overdue a little bit. So
Well,
I think Raven walks into Elbert County and gets the win.
I'm going to agree with you on that for this reason. Ravens number 2 in the classification, averaging 34.7 points a game, and Elbert is like middle of the pack. They're like 19th. Now, they're only giving up 19 points a game, but when you look at some of the defenses that Raven has already had to go against this year, that some of these defenses were in the top 10, and Elbert's, they're middle of the road. I think this is the week that Keegan Stover and Jaden Gibson is not far. I mean, he might be 200 and something yards. I mean, he might could break, if they get loose this week, he might could break the record this week for the all-time state receiving record. I think Raven wins this pretty comfortably, in my opinion.
I mean, the crazy thing is that Jaden Gibson, I think last week had like 200 yards of receiving.
Right.
And we're saying that the offense didn't get loose. It's just because they haven't been able to put it in the end zone. I mean, Keegan's still putting up great passing numbers. Jaden Gibson's still getting the ball and putting up big numbers. I think that this week is where we might see them actually get in the end zone and start to, see the fruits of that success. I think Raven County wins this one pretty handily.
I'm going to agree with him. I'm gonna agree there because we're slated at what -7 in favor of Rabin, right? On the
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
in there. So predicted to be a close game. I've been at Rabin in those situations on the sidelines when I've had that thought of Rabin might be in a little bit of trouble here, and they have always come through on the ends of those when I've been there with them. They I would wager around 70 to 90% of the time when I've been there, they've come through with that win. So I'm going with Rabin as well.
I'm still just trying to figure out how it was a 17-14 game. I think Rabin gets back on track this week. I'm going to go with Rabin in this one over Elbert to start region. All right, so this is the one that Caleb wanted to get to just a moment ago.
Okay, here we go.
This
All
one's
right.
the largest game in the state, probably the biggest game in the Southeast, and probably one of the biggest games around the country.
Oh, absolutely.
Number 1 Mill Creek, or number 1 Beaufort versus number 2 Mill Creek at Tom Ryden Stadium, Friday night, 7:30. Massive showdown for the region championship, most likely.
Most
Is there going to
likely.
be anywhere for you and me to actually be, Jeff, or are we just going to be sardines in that thing?
Yeah.
I am no problem being in a can, as long as I'm at that game.
Well,
What an odd thing to say.
Sardines are in a can.
I'll watch
Seth.
that
I
game.
know, but still.
I'll watch that game from a shoebox if
Yes.
it means I'm in the stadium. So, no, listen, which I will be in the stadium, by the way. We'll have the Hardy Chevrolet scoreboard show from there. This is a big game in every – I was talking to somebody earlier in the week. I don't think you could possibly have a bigger regular season game than this in any way at all.
right.
And I talked to Coach Lovelady earlier this week for a feature that we've got on the website now. One of the cool things, and I asked him about this, was did Beaufort and Mill Creek wait? Have they, they've never met. They've never played. Did they wait until Beaufort was going to get in their region because we knew they would be because they're so close together, and wait till they were 1 and 2 in the rankings for their first ever meeting? I mean, coincidence? I
Hey,
think not.
But
But
pile on top of that, number 2 offense versus number 2 defense.
well, Mill Creek,
dude.
I think by scoring average, they're number 1, and Beaufort's number 3 in defense. And,
Yeah,
but
I'll-
either way, 1, 2, 3. That look, that's a sexy matchup. When you go to a game like that, I mean, you just like, let me have that stat suite. But
All right. So,
I think the key matchup though is the Beaufort offense against the Mill Creek defense, because Mill Creek's
Yeah.
defense is middle of the road, Beaufort's offense is middle of the road. We've talked about sometimes we feel like they're stubborn with the run. They can be one-dimensional, but they got a good offensive line. They've got a stable of running backs, and basically they just dare you to stop them. But I feel like they're going to have some kind of a passing game, and that's concerned me. Even last week against Collins Hill, they just, it was 23-3, but they just had so much trouble in the passing game. I don't think they're going to be able to get away with that this week against Mill Creek.
I agree with that 100%. I agree with that. Beaufort is going to have to get a passing game going. They are going to have to give a little bit of extra offensively to get this one done.
So, for all the reasons you just said, that this is number 1 and number 2 in the state. It's probably for the region title, we think. Although Mill Creek still got to play Collins Hill at some point, and Beaufort still got to play Mountain View, who's not a laughing
terrible.
matter, but
Right.
we think this is basically the region title game tonight. I grew up kind of close to this area, and while I can tell you, Beaufort Mill Creek is probably not really going to be called a rivalry, but you would not know that if you were sitting in the stadium this Friday. It is going to feel every bit like it, because I'm going to tell you that these two communities are not big fans of one another. They don't root for each other, on Friday nights, and they haven't for the entire time that Mill Creek has existed. These kids grew up next to each other. These are they used to be bordering school district before Seconder popped up this year and changed that. But as far as the kids that are currently at Mill Creek are concerned, this has always been a bordering school district. This is going to be heated. This is going to be physical. This is going to be a lot of fun, first and foremost. So I'll get the pick started on this one. Buford, to me, has got to get something going in the passing game. Their defense will be very tough against Mill Creek in this game. There is no doubt about it. They will hold Mill Creek down better than any defense that Mill Creek has seen this year, but I just don't think that's going to be a whole lot because Mill Creek's offense is really good. I could see this kind of being like the state championship games that Buford has had against Langston Hughes or Lee County, where their defense is tough, but you look up at the end of the game and there's still 30 points on the board somehow or another. That could be the kind of situation. At this point of the season, I don't feel like I can rely on Buford's passing game to hang in and get me to where I look up at the end of the game and they've got 30, but we've got 34 or something like that.
Right.
I'm taking Mill Creek. I think this is going to be a dogfight of a football game. I think this one is going to be nip and tuck the whole way, but I do give Mill Creek an edge right now because I think they've got some things figured out that I think Buford is still kind of trying to figure out on the offensive side of the ball. And we may have to go back and look at we've been doing this pick'em show for a couple of years now. I don't think I've ever picked against Buford on a pick'em show. Did I take Thompson at the beginning of the year?
You're gonna make me go
I
back
think
and
you
stink
did.
and
I
figure that out.
I think
Caleb.
I took Thompson.
Yeah.
I think this is the second time I have ever picked against Buford, but I'm taking Mill Creek.
I want to make a statement that anytime one of these yahoos says something like that, they pawn it off completely on me to figure out whether they're telling the truth or
No.
not.
Jeff's got you covered.
He's
Jeff
got
pulled
it.
it up on his laptop. I took Thompson at the beginning of the year. So if everybody picks Buford fans can be happy because I was the only one that took Thompson, and Buford rolled Thompson up. So
There you go.
if everybody in the room takes Buford fans can sleep well knowing that things are probably going to work out. But I'm taking Mill Creek. That's my pick.
I think both teams are worried. I think they are. I think both teams are
You've gotta
nervous
be.
as they go. Both coaches are nervous as they go into this one. You know, you've got the largest game of the year for both of these two teams, and for the top spot in the region. But how many times have we seen Buford roll into somewhere and we think, I don't know, but we go with them anyway, and they end up winning the game. I think that's going to happen this week because, one, home field advantage at Tom Ryden. I think Buford wins this one in a close one. I don't think they'll roll, but I think they win this one in a close one.
I'm going with Buford on this one. I've been, once again, just like I said with Rabin, I've been, there with Buford in tight situations like this, and somehow Buford always manages to pull it out. So I'm going with Buford on this one.
I've got 3 words for my pick. Tom Ryden Stadium.
There you go.
Those are 3 good words.
That's it. That's it.
That's the difference in that game. I think that this Buford crowd that knows success, not to say that Mill Creek doesn't know success, but Buford has seen it over and over and over again. And to have this game in Tom Ryden Stadium, crowd's going to be juiced all night. Buford wins.
All right. Sleep easy, Buford fans. You got this one in the bag, apparently. If week 1 is anything to go off of. By the way, I found it interesting that I'm the only one that took Mill Creek, considering Mill Creek is an 11-point.
Yeah.
Oh, you took Mill Creek.
I took Mill Creek
Okay, I got
also.
you.
It's not surprising we went 3-2. This is the first game. This is the first game of the week.
Look, you guys talked about Commerce
Mill Creek's
being,
an 11-point favorite.
I
Is
know
what I was gonna say.
that is
Look,
crazy. That is crazy stat right there.
You guys were talking about Commerce being battle tested. I can't think of another team that's more battle tested than Buford.
Well, I agree.
In
Look,
big games.
their schedule,
Yeah.
their schedule lends that they will.
Mill Creek's faced some good opposition, too, though.
have.
but
if we're talking about over the years,
Yeah, well,
No,
yeah,
I
over
totally
the years,
agree.
Yeah.
But I think Caleb actually had the best analysis of the group, which is based on things right now and how they looked in the last week or two, as far as their offense. It's not rolling like it has been, and this is not your average defense. I mean, this is a stout group. The way I see it, if Buford holds Mill Creek to half their average, they're going to score 21 points.
I think
so.
Justice,
Can Buford score more than 21 right now? How they're playing, I'm not sure. That's the
I
only
think-
reason I'm picking Mill Creek.
Justice Haynes has to. It's not. We would like for him to have. Justice Haynes has to have a big night.
Oh, he's going
for
to have to
Buford win.
go off, and
Has to have a big night.
they're not giving up a whole lot of yards on the ground as Mill Creek. I mean, I just think right now it just plays to Mill Creek's hands. But again, you cannot discount the Buford Magic at Tom Ryden Stadium. I was talking to Coach Lovelady. He was like, "When was the last time they did lose?" And I like, to a Georgia team or just in general. So I think you had to go back to like the Bainbridge playoff game in the John Ford years, when that really wasn't Buford as we know it. And you'd probably have to go back a few more years before they've lost a meaningful game at Tom Ryden Stadium when they were pretty much playing at their peak. It's going to be a tall order for Mill Creek, no doubt.
I guarantee, having been in many locker rooms, that Buford has some stuff up their sleeves that they just haven't shown preparing for this game on the offense.
Well, they're going to need it.
Justice Haynes the ball.
Yeah, they're going to need it.
I think that's a big key in this game is that Buford, while they haven't been the Buford that we're used to seeing and blowing teams out left, right, up, down, putting a lot of points on the board, they've got stuff up their sleeve that they just haven't shown preparing specifically for this game.
Well, and I think this is why this game is going to be so fun. Anything could go in this game.
We could talk about this game for hours and come up with our own thoughts and everything else on this game, but it's going to be a good game. We know probably the best game of the year. All right, let's get to the rundown of picks this week, first starting with Walnut Grove at Cherokee Bluff.
You know what? I keep taking Cherokee Bluff to get off this snide, and it keeps coming up snake eyes. So I'm gonna take Walnut Grove. Sorry, Cherokee Bluff. I've went with you 3 weeks in a row. I got to catch up in these standings. I can't take it a fourth week. I'm taking Walnut Grove at home or on the road. Walnut Grove. I'm sorry.
I also am going to go with Walnut Grove. I was impressed with the Bluff defense last week. I think that unit's as good, I think, as we thought it was going to be, but the offense is just look, they lost so many key pieces from that group last year.
It's turnovers, man.
And yeah, the turnovers they didn't make too many mistakes last week, but they just couldn't get a whole lot going. And that Walnut Grove defense, I've seen it. It's pretty
good. They made the mistakes
at
the key times, though.
That
is
the fourth
quarter.
Oh, I'm going with Walnut Grove.
Okay.
I mean, I would love to see Cherokee Bluff win this. They need this to stay in the playoff race.
I'm going with Bluff in this one.
Okay.
Yeah, right. I'm going to go with Bluff as well. I think that they can get things going offensively. This Walnut Grove defense is good, but they've been a little bit susceptible to some other teams that maybe we didn't think they would be susceptible to. I like Cherokee Bluff to finally get off the snide. And they're playing at home. It's a tough place to play. Cherokee Bluff is there on the bluff, and I think the Bears can win it.
Seth, comes down to you.
I'm going to have to pick against Walter on this one. I'm going to go with Walnut Grove.
All right, North Hall at Chestatee, Battle of Highway 60. You hear the game live on 102.9. By the way, the Buford game's on AM 550.
North Hall has got the they've just always had the mental edge in this series over the years, and this year I think they've probably got the better football team as well. I'm going to take North Hall on the road. Tough loss last week to Madison County. They almost came back and won it. I'll take them this week on the road at Chestatee.
I'm going to agree with you.
Yeah, that Trojan offense is clicking right now. I like North Hall to win this one and win it pretty handily, I think.
Echo that. I'll hop on the coattails again. I echo what Walter was
But you already made your pick.
Yes. You had already made your pick, then you coattailed.
Well, it's the same pick. It doesn't matter.
But you only get to count it once.
It's the same pick, so I'm just echoing what he said. I'm just adding a point to it.
Echo. Okay.
Let's move on.
I will go with the Trojans in this one. Yeah.
Great analysis from Bo Wilson.
It's scintillating. I tell you that I don't think anything else.
I saw North Hall last week. They had opportunities in that game.
Right.
You've got a pretty good run game. Granted they have some injuries. Tanner Marsh, I don't know if he'll be back. I don't think he will be at quarterback, but but they can run the ball. So
this just makes me think of that Battle of Highway 60 last year.
Oh man, that was
how good of a game was that?
It was a great game.
Still heartbroken over Chestatee's quarterback playing that kind of game and losing after that game last year.
I'm not totally counting Chestatee out of this game at all because we know how last year's game was. We know Chestatee is down considerably from last year. This is a rival game. It is at Chestatee. I hope it's a good game, but I think North Hall has the slight edge coming into this one.
I think it will be a close game because I don't know that either team is remarkably better than the other. But I tell you one thing I look at last week, the freshman quarterback that came in, Davis, the freshman quarterback.
Oh, yes.
That came in, I think, 10 for 15?
Mm-hmm.
And that's I'm not saying that's what's missing, but, when you're running a spread, you got to have a quarterback. They lost their quarterback. It really looked like the season was over for them. But I was impressed by what they did offensively last week. I'm going to take the Trojans, but I think Chestatee can win this game if they can create some turnovers.
But
I think they can win the game. I mean, look what they did with East Hall at home. They got 7 turnovers from East Hall when East Hall was playing well. This is a game Chestatee can win, but I'm going to go with the Trojans. I think just the history Some of these kids have never lost to Chestatee.
There have been several times Chestatee had the better football team and lost to North Hall.
Right.
All right, guys, moving to Commerce at Athens Christian. I'm going to go with Commerce in this one.
I'm taking Commerce too.
Yeah,
Commerce.
Commerce.
Tigers.
East
They're
Forsyth at North Oconee.
North Oconee.
Yeah, North Oconee.
Yeah. I just,
Titans.
they might be top 5 team in the state all classifications. It's going to be a tall task for East Forsyth. Look, that defense is pretty good for the Broncos, but
They're
they haven't
struggling
they-
offensively a little bit.
Yes, and they
so-
haven't played an offense really yet, like North Oconee. So it's going to be tough.
Titans.
Yes. Titans. We got you.
Titans.
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 Okay.
Okay.
Everybody going with the Titans.
Yes.
Jefferson at Flowery Branch. I'm going to go with the Dragons.
I just
in this
repeated
one.
what they said. I didn't make my pick.
Oh,
actually.
okay. So who do you want to pick? Titans.
I mean, yes, but I also wanted to make a point of.
Oh, well, go ahead and
East
make your
Forsyth
point. Make your
keeps-
point.
East Forsyth keeps surprising us.
Yeah, you've been
This-
on that
this year
bandwagon.
around.
Are you
I
going to
really
stay
have.
on the bandwagon?
Are you
Seth?
staying with the Broncos to beat?
I'm
Number
going to
2,
agree with
North
everybody else. I think North Oconee is a little bit too tall of an order for them. But we might see some
It's
more
just kinda like you
analysis
chasing
on
down-
that game later.
It's just like you
So-
chasing down some of those private schools in cross country.
So are you
I
going
think
with the
yes.
Titans or
Yes,
the Broncos?
yeah,
Okay.
I'm
All
going
right, cool.
Titans.
Jefferson at Flowery Branch. I'm going to go with Jefferson. in
Yeah, me
this one.
too.
Yes.
Jefferson.
Jefferson.
They're going to be playing inspired football. I like the Dragons in this one.
Yeah, they've gotten better each week, and Branches, they played well last week, but it might be a little too late for them.
Yeah.
And by the way, prayers still for that whole community
Oh,
over
yeah.
there, Jefferson, after the Elijah DeWitt death. Awful story.
Right.
As far as football is concerned, I've seen this type of story do one of two things to a football team, and here's hoping it does the positive.
Yeah.
But still prayers for that whole community over there in Jefferson.
Ditto that. I
Absolutely.
very much agree with that. App Central at Gainesville. I'm going with the Red Elephants coming off that bye week. They're going to roll in this one.
I take
Elephants.
Gainesville.
Yeah.
Gainesville.
Yeah, playing in City Park, tough place to win. Give me the Red Elephants.
Towns County at Johnson.
Who does Jeff go with in this game?
That's the
I'm
interesting point there.
hearkening back to week 2 pick'em show in this.
Well, if you'll remember, I also said I didn't want to go against Towns County. I really like their team, but right now you got two teams struggling. Johnson's trying to break that win streak, but I think they're going to have a bigger team as far as just size-wise. They've done some decent things this year. I'm going to go with I'm taking the Knights. I don't know if this is an upset, but
You know what? I'm gonna take Johnson too. I'm taking Johnson to win.
But what's interesting about this game? This probably should have been the interesting stat of the week.
You
is
know
that-
what? I'm going to take Johnson, too.
Right? Is Jason Rockmore's coming back? He's
Yeah,
been
how
gone
about
for
that?
3. I mean, this is
Rockmore's
the first
return.
time he's come back to Johnson since he
I
left.
forgot about that. Yeah.
He was 7 years there. I mean, he was a beloved figure, at
Rockmore
that school. So
Homecoming.
Return him to the dungeon.
it will be. So there'll probably be some good memories for him as far as just the kind of relationships that he had made. But he's going to want to come in and beat
Okay.
his old team.
Right?
That
So
sounds sadder
three,
than
three
it is.
Johnson.
When you say someone returns
Three
to the
Johnson
dungeon.
picks here.
What do you got, Walker?
What do you got, Walter?
I'm going to go Towns County very, very close. I think that Coach Rockmore comes back and gets the win. He's got a Towns County program that came off the playoffs a couple years ago, and I think that they can get the win, but a close one there at Oakwood.
Here I am on the coattails for this one. I'm going to go Towns.
Okay.
Bethlehem Christian at Riverside Military Academy.
I still think the Bethlehem Christian game, Lakeview Academy game a couple weeks ago was the region title game. I think that we will look back on that and realize that was the region title game when it's all said and done. I got Bethlehem Christian.
Bethlehem.
Yeah, same.
Bethlehem.
Providence Christian at Union County. I'm going to go with the Panthers in this one.
Taking the Panthers too.
Panthers.
Same here.
Panthers at home.
And finally, White County at West Hall. Warriors are my pick.
Warriors.
I'm taking White County also.
White County.
Yeah, I got White County.
All right, let's get to the locks of the week segment. Seth, you get to pick first. You are undefeated.
Barely got Dawson though last week.
Yeah, I
By a
know that
point.
one had me.
1
That
point.
one had me like a bunch of you. I asked you throughout the time, like, does anybody know? Does anybody know? Does anybody know?
If Pickens kicks a field goal at any point
You're
in that
doomed.
game, you lose.
Yeah, I lose. I lose.
And they had
completely.
2 chances
But-
to do that.
I know.
But the point is, they didn't. And I won. by
Sometimes you need one of
They
those to
didn't.
keep an unbeaten streak going.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
sometimes. Got me looking, got me wondering.
Somebody didn't look at this before the show.
No, I did. I'm just conflicted.
Okay, what are you
Go ahead and
conflicted
talk
over?
through your confliction.
Yeah,
give us,
tell us the
give
one
us
you're
the
Well,
play
conflicted
you
by
on.
play.
kind of alluded to what you were going to pick earlier in the show.
Yeah, and it looked a lot better to me at the beginning, and I'm questioning myself.
And which one was that?
He's
I was
thinking about
looking-
taking East Forsyth plus 32.
Yeah, I was
against North Oconee.
Yeah, I was thinking East Forsyth plus
Well, you got
32.
plus 31.
Yeah,
We have-
plus
these-
31.
Plus 31.
That's
right,
what I
plus
was
31.
thinking. I was originally thinking, but I felt very unsafe and vulnerable last week. So I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna say Gainesville covers.
Wow.
Okay.
That's a big number.
So
47.
he
They're
doesn't
minus
take
47.
A 31-point cushion. He takes a 47-point
Right,
cover.
right.
and he was-
exactly.
wait, and Walker,
let
he
that
was
display
he,
the level of faith I have.
he was
in this Red
conflicted,
Elephants
and he
team.
was conflicted. Wow.
He could start out a game up 31 points. Instead, he's going to start down 47.
All right.
Hey,
You just gave away 78 points.
hey,
Wow.
hey. That's what I'm going for.
Okay.
Me taking risks is paid off, and if you guys view it as a risk, then
I don't know if I
At
view it as
40,
a
40,
risk, but sure.
47 is a risk at any level.
it is.
All right. So
Wow.
I do have a
who
lot of
is-
faith
who
in this
is-
cancel team, though.
Who is next?
So who did it would be Walker.
Yeah, I barely won last week, too. But I think I'm going to steal a few people's picks here. Buford plus 11.
Okay.
Buford plus. That's solid because that is a. I was surprised at how big that number is. I could honestly see my pick of Mill Creek being right and Buford still covering the 11. I think that could totally happen.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, who's up next?
Either one of you two.
You can go.
You are
Oh, I
tied.
can go.
I'll let you go
you're,
first.
You're so kind.
I have no idea what I'm doing, so there you go.
Okay,
I have
all right.
no clue this week.
Well, this is a really tough week to pick. I think there's a lot of good options.
You see my
out
confliction?
there. Yeah, I do a little bit. I tell you what, I'm going to take Commerce minus 13 on the road at Athens Christian. That feels like a bigger gamble than, like, my head says that's not really that big of a gamble, but my gut says it is. But I'm going to take Commerce minus 13 at Athens Christian.
Okay, so who's up next? Me?
That would be you.
Man, there were some. This was a tough week for lines. I
Sounds like somebody's conflicted.
yeah, I'm very conflicted. That's why I wanted to go last. I just want to see who everybody got out of the way. I'm going to take a risk this week. I'm going to take Mill Creek minus 11.
Wow.
Oh, going against
okay.
me.
Wow.
Well, I got
For the
two
second
strategies.
time only, we have
I got
two
two
show
strategies
hosts
here. That way I can pick up a game on him.
going
Just-
directly against one another.
Exactly. And
I
I
don't
want to
care
help
anymore.
Buford with some bulletin board fodder here to try to help
I have
them
no care.
push forward with this game against Mill Creek.
I'm just here to host the show.
Somebody got a frowny face because he's losing.
Oh, did I take your pick?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay.
You did a great pick.
No, wait,
Jeff.
you couldn't have taken his pick because you had Mill Creek minus 11 and he took Buford to win. So you didn't take his pick at all.
No.
Okay.
You didn't take my pick. I've not picked yet.
I got you. I just didn't know if you were going to take that.
What do you got, Bo?
I'm going to go with Dawson County minus 8.
Okay.
Ooh.
All right.
On the
See,
road
my
at
Wesley-
Wesley.
that-
My
see,
second
that-
pick
That's
was
right.
Wesleyan plus 8 because I think that
I'm
game is
stepping
so
out.
Yeah, I mean, that 8 could have been 16.
Now, in
to
fairness-
me. I mean, that's just a big number.
Dawson went down in the playoffs a couple years ago and knocked off that Wesleyan team on the road.
Mm-hmm.
That was a better Wesleyan team than this year's Wesleyan team.
Oh, now you tell us that. That would have been an interesting stat of the week.
Just saying.
What year
Might not
was
be
that?
2020?
It wasn't Wesleyan.
Was it not Wesleyan?
You might be. No. Wesleyan's been
think
sitting
it-
away for years.
This is the shortest week as far as
It
number
was.
of games.
And the longest
Only-
show.
Only, yes. How,
So
why?
many good matchups.
Why?
Because we had so much good content, we had to get out there.
Oh, is that
today.
what it was?
That's right. Hey, AM 550 Buford Mill Creek game. Check that out tonight. Also, 102.9, the Battle of Oakwood, North Hall at Chestatee, and Hab at Gainesville on 94.5 The Lake. Caleb, what's on the Tailgate Show?
Well, we're going to hear from both coaches in that Buford Mill Creek matchup, Brian Appling and Josh Lovelady. We're going to talk a little bit Battle of Highway 60, and I'm going to do another look around at the region standings because I feel like we kind of need to do that more and more because of what we talked about at this show. We got a lot of races and region races that are coming down to the wire.
And
So-
you're giving away some food and
We're
gas.
giving away free Smokehouse
There
barbecue.
you
We're
go.
giving away free gasoline from Clipper. We're giving away Howard Brothers gift cards. So chances to win prizes, too. It's going to be fun.
You've got a busy night tonight.
Yeah, I'm going to be down at Tom Ryden Stadium calling the game with Brian Stewart. So Gene Anderson out tonight, and I'm going to be down at Tom Ryden in the press box doing the game.
Have you called Kirby and see if you can borrow his helicopter?
I have not. Believe it or not, so it's unfortunate. There's no helipad at Tom Ryden Stadium.
That's like you just
You
land
can
right
land at the arena, though.
And
Yeah.
they have not invented teleportation. So it's going to take me a few minutes to get down there, but we'll make it happen.
Scoreboard Show also live after the game from Tom Ryden
From
Stadium.
Tom
as
Ryden
well.
Stadium, that's
Yep.
right.
All right, guys, a full Friday night of action. Hope you enjoyed it. Also, check back on the Friday game night page for all the highlight stories and more from tonight's action, as well as follow us on Twitter at Friday Game Night for scores throughout the night as we'll update it there. For the whole crew here, enjoy week number 9 of high school football. I was so
I
waiting.
should have been more ready. That's on me.
Why do you have to say things? That was great, but
You're gonna have to give Walker 5. Walker's done.
oh my gosh.
We'll fill in the rest of your picks, Walker. Look.
We gotta wait
just
now. We
read
gotta
it.
wait on poor Walker.
He's as red as your beard.
We gotta wait on
You can't
Walker
tell.
to
You
collect
can't tell
himself
where
now.
you can't tell where the sweater ends and his neck begins.
No, the thing is, you don't have to wait on me because you've got to make the pick to make the cut. So I've got time.
He has time.
That is a good point. I just have to talk. I gotta talk till he gets done laughing.